I'm asking the question today, is Luca Dean the biggest mistake that Everton have made in player trading or recruitment or selling or whatever you want to dress it up at? It'd be under the recruitment banner, because that's all about your squad that Everton have made. Based on Adelaide Decore has come out and said it was Rafa Benitez made a mistake by selling Luca Dean. Said he was a beast of a player. And when you look at, and this isn't like a thing at Michalenko's been a good steady left back, but you look at what Dean has continued to do at Aston Villa, create chances, score goals, plays in the French team. Up and down, we've seen him at close quarters in January. Goodness, he was still excellent. And when you think of all the players that Everton have traded out in that time, where would you rank?
What time frame are you putting it on?
It was January 21, was it? When he went, or was it January 22? January 22, we sold him.
So in the last 3 years,
so say like the last, since
5.
Benitez. We could say, you could argue
anyway, it's Dean anyway, isn't it?
You could argue, you could argue the last 5, couldn't you? But what I mean is the players who've left. Is there anybody who's left in that? There's anybody who's left in that time like a worse decision to make, if that makes sense?
I think that was awful. Yeah, and actually, I don't think it was a decision per se of the club. It was a decision of the manager.
It was the manager, yeah.
Because I can't imagine it would be Brands then, wouldn't it? That Brands said, yeah, get rid of him, he's rubbish, right? And so that is a real flag, isn't it, about what happens if you let the manager literally make decisions without any challenge.
Yeah.
And if he don't like you, I don't like Baricas, get rid. But he's great. He scores loads. No, I don't like him. Why not? I just don't like him. He's French, or he's German, or he's whatever, you know. So yeah, it was about a dysfunctional business, wasn't it? But yeah, absolutely. I can't think of anyone which was a bigger giveaway, literally. A player who doesn't want to leave.
He didn't even want to go.
A player doesn't want to leave, and you make him. And we didn't. It's not like we had a ready-made replacement there and that. You know what I mean?
That's the killer.
It literally had to be personal, didn't it? So, for some reason.
Well, it was personal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it had to be for some reason, because there wasn't like there was a young player chaffing at the bit and Luca was in the way. No, it was awful.
I remember at the time he was frustrated, wasn't he? Because I think he wanted Everton to play a bit more football, and he didn't like the fact that Rafa Benitez was telling them players they weren't good enough to play football.
It became a bit of a theme in future managers. It did.
Well, yeah, it's almost as if someone picked up the brochure when he came in from Birmingham. You know, being Liverpool supporters and all. But I remember Dean was fuming because he was saying, well, we played football under Carlo Ancelotti. We were good enough to play it 3 months ago. And only just missed out on European football, so why aren't we good enough to play it now?
Yeah.
To which obviously Rafa Benitez disputed and picked on him, I suppose.
Well, he didn't want back chat, did he?
He didn't want to be challenged by the players.
So he didn't want players with leadership skills, which again should have been a red flag to the non-sporting people. Baxendale and co. So why are you just letting this lunatic take over what will become an asylum?
I think
because of his behaviours.
Like, don't get me wrong, I think Luca Dean probably done a couple of things he shouldn't have done as well as a player, because you need your players to play for the team. You'd almost thought, I imagine at times you've got to just ignore the manager to a certain degree. Do what I'm saying, go against what he says, but you've got to almost sort of go, well, I play for the club, and I know that's probably not realistic, because a lot of players, football's littered with these players that don't do it. But suppose when you're such a good footballer and you're playing for a top international team like France and you've been brilliant for Everton, you would question it. I mean, Luca Dean, you know, Everton, 127 appearances for Everton. He registered 6 goals and 29 assists. You know, now, in a period of time that Michalenko's been there, And again, I'm not digging Mykolenko out. I'm just highlighting the differences in attacking quality. You know, Micho got his first assist the other week in that time. I think has he got 2 goals for Everton? 2 league goals, hasn't he? Leicester and Palace, which, well, you know, good header and a great strike at Leicester, but the difference just there in that the attacking quality of it is highlighted to what Everton have lost. Sure. Okay, we've had a negative manager in Benitez. Then Lampard was trying to be a bit more expansive, and then we had a really unbelievably negative manager in Dyche. So whether Luca Dean would have thrived anyway, but when you look at what he brought that Everton side, creating chances and goals, it's no surprise to see Everton's decline.
No.
When you're taking out players of that quality, and you think now of him, you're crying out for that quality in the final third. Now, aren't we, to create more opportunities? And so when I look at it and I see those numbers, and then I see, right, we sold him because a manager made a decision that he didn't like him and therefore kind of forced him out. And then you see him go off to Aston Villa, where he's now made more appearances, for 130 appearances for Aston Villa, 4 goals. He hasn't scored as many as he did for Everton, but he's got 14 assists. So still in that period of time, 257 appearances, 10 goals and 43 assists since he come to England.
It's the assists that make the difference, I think. Yeah.
But that, you know, look at that 43 assists, you know, in what, say 6 years.
But if you...
So it's what 7.1 assists a season. Yeah. From left back.
Yeah. It's the assists. And clearly the style of play shows that, because I think Mykolenko's probably, well, if you think that, how long, it was 4 years, is it?
3.
3. 4 seasons, but 3 years, I guess, is it?
This is coming up. He's just over 3. Coming January 2022.
But match the...
One went out, one come. One come in, and then the other one.
That's what I mean, yeah. So if you look at Mykolenko and Dean in the Premier League goal scoring, Mykolenko's probably scored more, hasn't he? In the time, I don't know.
Mykolenko, I'm sure 2. Luca Dean's double that, got 4 for Villa.
No, I'm talking about while he's been at Villa, right?
Luca Dean's got 4 goals.
At Villa in the league.
2.
In the league.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm just looking now. So according to this, might be wrong. This is Wikipedia. 3 league goals for Mykolenko in his time at Everton.
4-3 then.
Okay, and same thing, assist. Wikipedia. Luca Dean, 2.
Luca Dean's got 4 goals
2 in the league
in 130 appearances.
Yeah, but they're not all in the league,
and
are
he's got 14 assists.
No, I get it. That's why I said. That's why I just said that. It's the actual assists and the attacking threat that brings. Rather, so the goal scoring stats, neither here and there. It's all about the assists, and presumably, and I don't know, there must be some fancy database somewhere where you can. Well, if you're the guy who plays on the left side in an attacking role with Luca Dean behind you, you do much better than if you have Mykolenko behind you, and that's part of it as well, isn't it? But yeah, absolutely, it's chalk and cheese between those two. Luca's a modern attacking fullback, and he's left-sided, which makes him even more rare, doesn't he? Sort of thing. And Miko's the other way.
That's defensive fullback.
He's
not non-that. He's very, very good.
And
like
so
1v1.
You know, if you can strike a ball, with half decent technique, then if it lands for you and you smack it one and it goes in, then yeah. But creating assists of this new fancy, pre-assists or whatever they're called, Dean's numbers must be amazing.
Quality of chances, probably.
Yeah.
Dean, probably XA. It's probably really high as well. I think the other thing, again, it's not a thing in Mykolenko, because Mykolenko's a better defender than Luca Dean.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, if you're going 1v1, I'd rather have Miko defending 1v1, but it's modern day football, which is played in, up higher up the pitch, and this is what I think David Moyes is going to want to progress to, is that you look at the players who've left, and Everton have voluntarily sold these players, then Luca Dean is by far the biggest mistake of them all.
Totally
because you look in that Everton side that he played in, to say that finished the 21 season under Carlo, and you've got Moise Keane, who was in and around. I personally think that was a huge mistake that year from Benitez. I think he should have kept him for that year. He just got 18 goals with PSG. He should have kept him. you look at James Rodriguez, okay, he was great. We'd never got to see him, sadly, really. A lot did at Old Trafford in a friendly, but in terms of Premier League, we didn't. And you can go, was that a mistake? Well, he was on big wages and was he diminishing the returns? Could his body do it? I don't know, but he missed a lot of games. And, you know, and then Richarlison, obviously, the next season is one, you go, oh, Richarlison, great for us. But he sort of, I'm not saying he was banging the drum to get out, because I don't think he was.
No.
But I think he realised Everton had to sell him. And he realised Tottenham are in the Champions League and it was at London and all that.
And you want to play in that.
You know, you have a go at that. Yeah. So I think when you do look back over them, it's a flip. People might go, oh, well, Richarlison was a bigger mistake, but I don't know if it was. I think Luca Dean was the biggest mistake. I think Decore's right. He sold a player.
By far.
We let someone who was never going to be here very long dictate getting rid of
And that's
people.
where you need leadership inside the business, either whether that is in the playing side or whatever. Because players are human beings as well. They know he's an RS. They know this, that, and the other. They can't. They must foresee either we're just going to win lots of games because he's right, or we're not, and it's just waiting to get the chop. So ride it out. It'd be interesting if we could retrospectively think how long would Luca have had to put up with it before he won the day. You know, I just did a comparison.
Well, as it happened, John, a week.
Yeah, indeed.
Because we sold him on the Wednesday. We lost to Norwich on the Saturday and Benitez was gone.
That's right.
So,
I'm talking about...
Yeah.
But I've just done a comparison to two players, and actually in goal scoring and all that sort of stuff, this season, there's nothing to choose from between them until you get to team play where it shows as big chances created. 13-2. That's the difference. You know, more passes, more touches, less passes forward, amazingly, according to this. But the real key there is he creates big chances, Luca Dean.
There will be less passes forward because he plays so high.
Yeah.
So a lot of his passes are actually cut back or played.
But it's those big chances created.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And I bet you there's not much difference in defending either, which is, it's not like you're trading one for the other. Goals. Let's have a look. More tackles from Luca Dean, you know. Less clearances, but he's playing in a better team. More similar headed clearances. Defensively, similar. Offensively, much better.
Yeah.
And that tells you all you need to know, doesn't it?
But then let us know. Is that the biggest mistake Everton have made recruitment-wise in the last 5 years? Let us know in the comments section.
It'd be interesting to see how many think Richarlison's a bigger mistake, because I don't. But then again, that's the joy of opinions, isn't it?
It is.
Never even occurred to me, oh, Richie was a big mistake. It doesn't.
No.
It's not in my head as a big mistake.
No, because I don't think we had any choice.
Because of the potential
As
for
a
injuries,
yeah.
the amount of money, the reasons why it happened. You know.
Phil says Dean was on huge wages. Selling him on was unfortunately more of a necessity. I don't know whether it was, Phil.
No, I don't think
it was a necessity. He wasn't on as much as some of the others. But there you go. They was looking to see if there was others. Phil Steele says the biggest mistake was letting Marcel Brands go. He'd work well now alongside David Moyes.
He probably would, actually. Yeah, but much more consultative.
Well, Brands went because the hierarchy wasn't very good, and Machiri allowed Benitez too much power.
He went, whether he physically went, when he turned up on a boat and got told by someone, you must be pleased with your new manager.
4 weeks after
when he
signing
thought
a
he
new
was
deal.
about to recommend some, which didn't include the guy who'd been on the boat for a few days. You know, so
Crazy, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally crazy.
Welcome to Annabelle. She's a YouTube member. MB's a YouTube member, says, afternoon all, hoping the day is treating you all well. Well, it is, because it's lovely out. It's lovely. Celtic Vape says, Richie is the biggest mistake.
It's a game of opinions.
Blue. No, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Blue 96 says, Dean was brilliant, but he did have mistakes in him. Wasn't always defensively brilliant. I don't think it's been the biggest loss. I think you could argue a case for Amadou Onana, James Rodriguez and Richarlison.
What, as bigger mistakes? No. In my view. No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's all-
Josh says the simple answer is yes. It was the biggest mistake.
Sure.
Um,
But there's a query there, which would you trade a bit more defensive solidity for 13 big chances?
no, I'd rather have the 13
Yeah,
big
absolutely. Yeah, goals what make the world go round, don't they?
chances. Benitez hated him, said David. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luke says, not for me. Dean was playing awful for months before we sold him. Okay. He wasn't playing brilliantly. There's no question about that. But that's a little bit of form, isn't it? He'd been brilliant up until maybe he just did not like the fella who was in charge, and he wasn't the only one.
Yeah, we all work at some stage for
Fans didn't even like the fella in charge.
Yeah, we all work at some stage, don't we? Unless we're born with a silver spoon or win the lottery or something. And if your boss doesn't like you, it's really hard, isn't it? And he makes it clear. You know, so
Phil Steele says Dean wouldn't have created chances under Dyche. He probably wouldn't. No one did. We weren't allowed.